It's the 29th day of March 2021. Welcome to A Farmers Media, where we are all about one thing, telling the story of an African farmer. And this is the Drive Show with me, Conrad Kibe. I'll be taking you through until 5 p.m. And I definitely know you wondering why we've started a bit early. It's because we need to conform to the new set of guidelines and rules that were put in place by the president on Friday regarding to the curfew on the five red zones, as he put it, that is Kajiado, Nairobi, Nakuru, and Machakos, plus together with Kiambu. So definitely we shall be starting a little bit early for us also to go home. Hatutaki pia sisi kuchelewa because the curfew is at 8 p.m. So from starting from today, we shall be starting a little bit early, not as 3 p.m. as always we've been doing. So that is something we should put in place. And definitely when you're talking about the COVID guidelines that has been put in place, we are talking about some of the numbers that were given during the weekend. We saw that the same Friday that we had the speech by the president of the country, we hit almost 2,000 cases in a day. But as of yesterday, we hit around 884 positive cases out of a sample size of 5,377. And for the deaths, we are still high on the deaths rate, talking about 13 deaths as of yesterday, the 28th of March. And talking about the positive rate, we are still on a high and a very, very positive rate, a positive rate that WHO is not really, really well with. That we're talking about 16.6%. And as I've always told you, the rate at which WHO has put in place is 5% rate of recovering and containment. So we are looking roughly at around 3 or 4 times the containment rate that WHO has put in place. And the death toll right now, we are talking about 2,117 cases since March last year. And for the total cases of COVID, we are talking about roughly 130,000 cases. So we are not doing really well. And I know the government policies that were put in place on Friday were not as what we expected as a country, but what is there right now, we just need to follow the guidelines. And as always, the guidelines that are put on Friday and the guidelines we always tell you every time we do a show is that we need to put our mask on. We need to mask on and put your mask or wear your mask the right way, not just wearing a mask but above the nose. So make sure you're wearing the mask the right way, a clean mask, and definitely always remember to sanitize and keep social distancing. As the guidelines were given on Friday, 60% of the capacity in a vehicle should be the vehicles or any vehicle should carry a capacity of 60% of the total number of passengers that vehicle is supposed to be carrying. So definitely I am hoping that everyone who is using a PSV or you have your own personal vehicle, you are adhering to the 60% capacity rule that was put in place by the government on Friday. So those rules were not what everyone expected, as I've said, but we just need to adhere to it. Wacha tuvumilie kidogo. Then when we have contained this disease, the third wave, we shall see what will happen. But as always, make sure you adhere to the guidelines that have been put in place by the government and also by MOH and definitely by WHO, because when you're talking about the numbers worldwide, talking about total cases of 127 million positive cases since last year. The recovery numbers are at 72.1 million, and the number of deaths cases that you've had worldwide since last year is standing at 2.78 million. So you can see worldwide we are not really doing well in terms of numbers. So we need to contain this virus as much as possible and well as careful as we can, and be sure make sure, as always, as always we've said here, as you are protecting yourself, remember you're not only protecting yourself but also you're protecting the people around you, the elderly people, the young people, especially right now. Everyone during the weekend, everyone was traveling. At least if maybe your job has been affected by the guidelines that are put in place, the cessation and everything, you make it most people traveled back home. So make sure when you're home, keep try as much as possible to keep away from these elderly people, because it was in a hurry that people went home. So perhaps you are carrying the virus with you. So make sure you are careful wherever you are. And kama uliweza kufika, they extended some days. So yesterday was the last day of people traveling in and out of the red zone. So I'm hoping everyone who was supposed to traveled safe and got home safe, and you can find at least something to do as you are waiting for the next, to contain this virus and everything to be back as normal. People can travel in and out of these five red zones, which are very important to anyone doing business, either in farming or any other type of farming. Remember, these five red zones are very important because they actually surrounding or are half of what of the country. When you want to get your goods or your farm products from Nakuru cuts across the other side of Rift Valley, the other side of Western Nyanza, Kisii, all those sides. Kiambu cuts across the other side of Eastern, Northeastern, Central, and definitely Machakos cuts across, is like a border for the coastal region. So you see how much this the cessation of movement in these red zones have actually affected everyone in the country. So make sure we are you're playing your part in the containment of this virus, so that everything can get back to normal, so that we can open up the country and everyone can do their business right and normally. Talking about the weekend, I was uh, I was able, even before the cessation of movement or the lockdown, I was able to go to the, the county of Nakuru, and I wish to send salamu za watu wa Nakuru, pande za Nakuru, pande ya Subukia. The people there are very hardworking. People are doing a lot of farming. Watu wanajitambua kule, watu wanafanya kazi aina tofauti, and I was very happy to see people actually doing so much regarding to farming. And we visited several farms, and it was interesting to see young people trying to do, trying to venture into farming. And it was good that they actually went to the right place, and they contacted the right people. That is, A Farmers right here will help you from step one, from actually getting to know the pH of the soil, from what is the best farmer, or actually the best, the best thing that you can plant in your farm. Is it in the right place to get the market and everything, get the best um, fertilizer and all that, the process. We shall help you in that. So if you're out there, you're a young farmer, or perhaps you're a farmer and you actually don't know what to do with your land, contact us. We'll help you from step one till the end. Hatukuachili, tunakushikilia mpaka mwisho, and we shall be giving you that story when tushamaliza kila kitu, tushatengeneza. We shall put in all our social media platform. Remember, you're coming live on our Facebook live stream, that is A Farmers with a Z at the end, and definitely we are also live on our YouTube platform, that is A Farmers Media. So when that clip is out, we shall give you, and you shall see what you're talking about. Shall be a testimony, and utaona ambavyo tunafanya. And maybe you're out there, you're a farmer, aspiring farmer, talk to us. Tutakusaidia, tutakueleza njia ambavyo unaweza from step one. We're talking about starting from testing the soil pH ya ile shamba uko nao, tukuambie ni nini mzuri unaweza panda hapo, and the process, or actually the best way to farm. Where we're talking to that farmer, the one we had visited in Subukia, and almost the whole village was in his farm. Waone, it's a new way. They have never seen such kind of farming, and it's very interesting. So if you want to be part of that story, if you want your story to be given out there, contact us. We give you quality service, and quality service is definitely very, very affordable services. Prices itakuwa sawa. So talk to us. There's someone who will be there on the other side of the phone call. He'll be able, or she will be able to assist you in the best way possible. So kama wewe ni mkulima ambao uko huko nje, pokea salamu za watu wa Nakuru, and keep the hard work, keep farming, keep doing what you do, because you're doing a great job. And so today we shall continue to discuss about agribusiness. We started last week about agribusiness, talked about Hass avocado farming, talked about pig farming, that is poultry, na naona ambavyo kwa mtandao inafanya vizuri sana. So if you've not checked out some of our agribusiness ideas that we did last week, talked about agribusiness as a whole, tukatoka hapo tukaingia kwa Hass avocado farming and definitely pig farming. And so today we shall be talking about a very interesting lucrative kind of agribusiness that is being done by young people, especially the young people wameshikilia kitu wanataka kukimbia nayo. And so it's a very very good business and it's doing well out there. But as all the time I've told you, if you're starting or you want to venture into any kind of agribusiness, be intentional. And the key value when starting any kind of business or agribusiness is patience. If you don't have patience in this kind of agribusinesses, then this is not your thing. So you need to have a lot of patience and being intentional. Intentionality is very important. Why are you getting to this kind of business? And so today we shall be discussing about we shall be talking about poultry farming. This is keeping of poultry birds. And so some of these requirements, but before we get to the requirements, some of the fun facts about poultry farming is that there are two methods. There's the organic and inorganic. And uh, and as always, there is a high competition between the two of them, the organic and inorganic. And just to note that the health conscious people, wale ambao they are perfectionists, when it comes to health, they don't give room for any jumps. They actually they are they're the people that reject all types of inorganic foods, including poultry, eggs, and meat. So health conscious people actually rejecting any type of inorganic foods or feeds or even type of farming. So when it comes to feeding their their poultry birds, they do organic only. So it's good to note those two things. And so the requirements that you need to have when you start in this type of farming, as always, this one is pinned when it comes to any kind of agribusiness. Talking about market research. Have you done your research on what is involved in poultry farming? This is very key in any type of agribusiness. And this we have seen throughout last week when you're talking about agribusiness or when we started agribusiness. Market research, very important. Get to understand what is in well, what is included in this type of agribusiness. What is the difference between all these kind of ideas or all this kind of agribusiness? It's very important to note that. And so that's the first one. The second one also same as every other kind of agribusiness. We're talking about picking a niche. You've done your market research. That's the first thing. Second thing, picking a niche. Do you want layers or broilers? You've done your market research. You've seen the benefits of layers, broilers, the housing, uh, cost of production and everything. You've seen now. You've balanced. Chagua moja sana. Pick the niche. Angalia ni wapi kuna mashimo mingi, ni wapi watu wajafanya. And you can never reinvent the wheel. So angalia watu ambao wameweka layers. What have they not done? And what can be done to improve the production? Angalia kwa broilers, angalia ni nini ambao wamefanya na pia uangalie ni nini ambacho hawajafanya. So you pick a niche. Angalia ni wapi kuna mashimo ambazo probably you can fill in. Don't go in a production that is overdone. But as unaweza ingia ambako it's overdone, but at the same time pick something they have not done. People are afraid to get to a place where it's overcrowded. You get to poultry farming right now, almost everyone is into poultry farming. That's where you do your market research. Get to understand what are some of these challenges that people who have ventured into this type of agribusiness are facing. Angalia ni nini ambacho unaweza fanya au ambao hawajafanya. So in this kind of agribusiness or any kind of agribusiness, you must be ready to take a risk and ask yourself, is this risk worthy of what you're doing? Itanipatia kitu? Will there be will there be something productive out of the risk that I've taken? Don't just take the risk blindly. So don't be afraid to get into this kind of agribusiness because kila mtu anafanya. Keti chini, don't do the same as they are doing. Just get to understand, after you have done your research, get to understand ni nini ambacho hujafanya, then do it. That's the only way you'll be successful in this kind of agribusiness. So you're talking about picking a niche, and a niche you have talked about getting to understand, is it the layers or the broilers? Or if you can do both, the better. If you see you are able to, you can beat the challenge of rearing both, it's okay. If it's okay with you, then kama vile wanasema, kama uko sawa basi pia mimi niko sawa. Ukiamua kufanya hiyo pia, no one will ask you. It's all about you. Pick the niche and go ahead. And so the third one is identify a hatchery, and we are talking about the supplies, wale ambao watakupatia quality one day chick. So identify, ujua ule quality yake ya one day chick inakuanga iko maridadi, iko safi sana. So identify the supplier. Kuwa ni mtu wako, kuwa na pedi wako wa hizi supplies. One day chick, kuwa naye pale kando. Get to know the prices. Pricing yake iko aje? Ni mtu ambaye tunaweza elewana. Maybe today hauna ile 450 ya kununua the food. Unamwambia we wacha tumana hiyo chakula nyumbani, alafu tutaongea baadaye, tutaelewana. So get to understand this, get to know where you'll get these supplies. Usiweke tu your poultry birds there na hata ujui, where the place that you've positioned these birds, na mahali unaendea chakula, mahali unaendea these one day chicks, it's very far. So get to understand the proximity of your place and the supplier. Ni mahali ambapo mnaweza elewana, ni mtu ambaye mnaweza elewana, ama ni mtu mtavutana juu ya pesa, the quality, maybe it's not the quality that you expected. Get to understand and know what kind of suppliers you're dealing with when it comes to this kind of agribusiness. The other one, acquire space of land. Talking about the land or space, probably we are talking about 100 meters by 50 meters. So if you don't have the land wewe mwenyewe, you can lease, you can hire land. Do we tafuta mahali utengeneze. If you're in the city, kuna mahali basi, when you're talking about land, and this is poultry birds, si ati ni wanyama wakubwa, and probably you want to do large scale, small scale, any kind, any of the two that you want to put, land is always an issue. But now you're talking about picking a niche. Ushajua watu wanaogopa, or they are shying away from taking up this or venturing into this business because of land. Ushajua nimeshajenga hapa and I have a small space, kanaweza, it's not that big, but hapa nyuma ya nyumba mimi nataka tu kuweka small scale. This is my target audience. This is the market that I'm targeting. Unajua haka space nako kwa nyumba naweza weka hawa kuku. So land should not be an issue. I'm talking about you can hire land, a piece of land, just a piece of land, a small one or big one, just weka kuku zako hapo. So when you acquire the land, either at your home or you are hiring or you are anything that you're doing, as long as you have the land, then you're good to go. That's the fourth thing that you should be ticking. Because the first one, as you have said, you've done your market research. It's enough. Ushajua everything. Hakuna kitu itakuja huko kukushtua mbele. You know the challenges that you'll go through. You know everything. The cost of production, we'll talk about that later on. The kind of the breeds that you have. We have the layers, the broilers. Ushajua hizi vitu zote. Ushajua the food that they need, wanakula hii, wanakula ile, unataka kujitengenezea kutoka nyumbani, unataka kununua the inorganic. You understand? All these things you have to put in place when you are doing your market research. That's my market target audience. Wewe una target fast foods. Because you have broilers, una target fast foods. Una target supermarkets, wewe unajua hapa nikipata mtu ambaye ako Kinoo napeleka mayai yangu pale, because maybe probably as we were talking on last week, but we were talking about the biggest market that I know of personally is Kinoo for eggs. Not Kinoo, sorry, it's Wangigi for eggs. Mimi hiyo ndio najua personally, but I told you guys to tell me about maybe probably I was wrong, but according to me it's Wangigi because that's what I know. So probably unajua mtu pale Wangigi, and that's where you know your market is. So get to know market yangu iko Wangigi, mimi naishi a certain place, naishi Embakasi, naishi Kikuyu, so the transport costs, ile ya kuchotea pale ya mabrokers ambao wako pale, the market the production cost and everything, all these things. You must be knowing them when you're doing your market research. And so you've said the second thing, which is very important, pick a niche. Jua pale ndio kuna shida. Watu ambao wanaweka layers, hapa ndio shida iko. Watu ambao wanaweka broilers, ile ndio shida. So you've already picked a niche, ushachukua moja. Ama unajifanya sasa, unasema sasa mimi I can do both. Niko na uwezo, the financial the financial power, you have a big land, labor uko nayo, all these things, hakuna kitu inakusumbua. I can do both. It's okay. Hakuna mtu atakuuliza, do you? So you need to pick a niche. Si ati umeshafanya hizi vitu zote sasa ndio unashangaa sasa nitachukua nini. And what will help you to pick a niche is when you've done your market research. As I've told you, we shall be answering some of the most or the most common and frequently asked questions when it comes to poultry farming. We shall be dealing with that later on. And so the third thing we've talked about is identify the hatchery. Identify the supplier of a quality one day chick. Ule ndio supply, ule ndio atakuwa ananipatia hizi the food for the chickens, for the chicks. Ule ndio atakuwa ananipatia hizi vitu zote for the supplier of anything, whether it's the cage, whether it's when you're doing your housing, yule ambaye atakupatia hizi vitu zote. So we are talking about the hatchery and the suppliers, and when it comes to good quality of one day chicks. And so the fourth thing is acquire space and land. We've said that shouldn't be a problem at all. Just get to know where you are doing this kind of agribusiness, the land, how it looks like, and how you will do the housing and all that. And so the fifth thing, now set up. After ushafanya hizo vitu zote, umeacquire land, ushajua the supplier, ushapick your niche, na the first thing ulikuwa ushafanya market research. So the fifth thing is set up a chicken cage. Sasa ndio unaanza ujenzi. And a good cage or a good chicken cage is spacious enough, to it's inasaidia the chicks or the poultry birds you put there to move around freely. And when you're setting up a cage, you must factor in some of these things. This somewhere that is very spacious. They need to move around. The poultry birds need to move around. They also need to get some good air. So definitely you have to factor in ventilation, at least some of these things, and safety from wild birds. So we hakikisha umetengeneza a very spacious chicken cage that is well ventilated. You've factored in the temperature and all that. Kila kitu iko sawa. So ensure you have the chicken cage. This is immediately after you have acquired the land. Now start. Anza ujenzi hapo. All right? So the sixth thing, bring in your day-old chicks. Sasa ushamaliza ujenzi kabisa. Ujenzi umeisha. Everything is set and you're good to go. Now this is where you factor in bringing now zile ambazo umenunua. So in bringing in this one-day-old chicks, yeah, you can buy as much as you can. You're talking about your financial muscle. How, ambavyo mfuko umekaa. You can probably either start with 20, either start with 10, 50, 100. It depends with also the land that you have. Is it spacious enough? Usiziweke uko na shamba, uko na place ndogo lakini unataka kuweka almost 100. They'll suffocate, die out of stress, and you'll be going at a loss. So just gauge the space, the space that you have. Is it spacious enough? And also factor in your financial muscle. Kama uko na uwezo and you have the labor and everything, then this is not limited to any number of chicks you should put in, right? So from there, you've already done, you've ushazileta, you factored in the foods and everything. We shall be coming to that much later. Now, this is where now you go to marketing your poultry. After now you've brought in the chicks, hapa katikati umefanya hizo vitu zote, the feeding and everything. We shall be talking about that. Now it's time for you to have your first production, either the layers ama broilers. Hapa ndio tunasemanga you get into to the to the group that we call ask around, I have no shame. You have to get to that group where you have no shame, because if you have uko na aibu, hutaweza kuuza your layers or your broilers. You have to have no shame at all, because you build the connections, as I said, whether with supermarkets, fast food joints, clients, your neighbors, people around, your fellow farmers. Kama uko na aibu, hao watu wote utaweza kuconnect nao. And from there, now you are living in a time where social media is almost everything, is key. Posts weka huko. Ukiona chaos pale Twitter zinatembea, we tupa biashara yako pale ndani, put that poster huko ndani, inatuliza, it neutralizes the chaos that are there. Pale Facebook watu wana chat kwa groups, tupa poster yako pale ndani, useme this is my contact, nauza this kind of nauza layers, nauza broilers, call me, I deliver. Until say you deliver kwa nyumba, and now when you're talking to the clients, waambie nilisema na deliver lakini nalipishanga, put the details. But if your team if you're not in that team of ask around, you have no shame, then utakuwa na aibu ya kuweka kwa groups. Lakini please, even as we are doing all this, have some decorum, don't be, have some decorum when you're doing, especially when it comes to social media. Uko kwa group ya matanga lakini nao unatupa biashara yako pale, it's really not good. That's not decorum. But just know how to navigate. If you know how to use social media in a very good way, it's good, because people, you become irritating and annoying. So just know the times that the timings of social media. People are discussing a very important issue. Na sasa pale ile opinion uko nao unatupa biashara yako pale. Pale unaweza kuwa very very annoying. People will be very annoyed with you, or maybe unapostingi mara mingi and people are tired, You just know how to navigate through social media. There are times posting as many times as possible works, is very efficient, but there are times posting as much, very, very many times, is very annoying and irritating, and people will actually block you, and all these things. So you must know how to navigate. We jua nikitupanga kwa hii group ama unaangalia kutoka kwa group za watu wengine wakitupa, people have a conversation about it. Just know the timings. Timings are very very important when it comes to airing your opinions, your business. There are times you'll take the chaos that are happening and talk about and put and plug in your business, right? So just know the timings of social media, because they are very important, very very important when navigating in social media. Let everyone everywhere know that you sell, unauza mayai, unauza kuku. Let people get to know you. Don't be afraid of people nicknaming you someone or mayai, anakuita sijui nani wa mayai. It's okay, people identify with the business that you are doing, and you have seen such kind of people out here, anaitwa sijui nani wa mayai, nani wa kuku, sijui nani wa chapati, because they are being identified with the business they do. And so for you to get to that point, you must be team ask around, have no shame. When you have shame, ati mtu wamesahau jina yako ya ukweli, wanakuita sijui nani wa mayai, then whatever the business you're doing, then it's not making sense just to venture into another type of business. But if you don't have that, kujituma na uko na aibu, then you'll not make it to any kind of business out here. The world can be so cruel. The world, and when I say the world, I just mean people around, and especially social media. The streets can be so cruel. So as navigating through these streets, just to know there are some of the small tips that you need to understand when you're navigating through the streets of social media. So we're living in that era of social media, so you don't need to you know shout or just walk around and tell people, selling just giving out or dishing out flyers telling people nauzanga hii. Social media will actually help you to get your market even outside the country, maybe outside your region, you know, and all that. So those are some of the requirements that are needed when um, starting this kind of agribusiness. So we've talked about market research. Do your research very well. Pick a niche. Very important to know whether you actually you actually venturing into layers of broilers. Identify a hatchery. Acquire space and land, which is very important because it will help you navigate or understand how many one day chicks I can put in that land. Now from there, now we get into serious business where we're setting up a chicken cage, which is supposed to be very spacious and to allow the chicks to move around freely. Should be ventilated and very safe from wild birds. Also, you've talked about bringing in your one day chicks. Now that's where the business starts. And definitely the last one you've talked about, market your poultry. This is where we have talked at length. Marketing your poultry, being the team, ask around. We have no shame, because if you have shame, then you're not going to be the best poultry keeper in the world or even in Kenya. So be that person ambaye hana aibu. Market on all the social media platforms, and definitely you'll get something from it. It's never goes unpaid. So when you're coming back, we shall be talking about the care, the requirements when it comes to caring these poultry birds. Talking about vaccines, talking about the diseases that are commonly found in this type of agribusiness. So all that when you come back after this short break.
majina ni Emmanuel Lelei ama Olelei Lelei kwenye Facebook. Mimi nashughulika na drip installation, na hiyo ndio kazi ambayo tunaifanya. Kwanza kabisa ningependa kuwashukuru African Farmers Club kwa huu wakati ambao wameweza kunialika katika ofisi yao. Ningependa kusema ya kwamba venye nimeweza kualikwa mahali hapa, mimi ningesema ya kwamba itakuwa ni ushirikiano ulio mwema baina ya drip irrigation, Tips Hub na Africa Farmers Club. Nimekuwa nafanya hii kazi kwa muda mrefu. So far niko na 6 years kwa mambo na installation of drip, na kazi yenyewe ni nzuri, ninaipenda. Kitu ambacho ningependa kuwahimiza wananchi, hakuna mtu unaweza ukafanya kitu kama hujaweza kuipenda mwenyewe. So mimi napenda kazi yangu, kazi ambayo naifanya naipenda, na ndio sababu nimeweza kutilia maana ama nimeweza kuweka kilio kwenye kazi ambayo naweza kuifanya ya drip installation. So kazi yetu tunaifanya, na leo nimeweza kupata hii nafasi ya kuweza kuwa pamoja na African Farmers Club. So ukitaka kunipata kwenye mtandao Facebook, utanipata kama Olelei Emmanuel, ama unipate na Olelei drip irrigation Tips Hub. Kwa Gmail utanipata emmanuel.lei@gmail.com, na kwenye YouTube bado utanipata kama irrigation Tips Hub. Nambari yangu ya simu kwa wale ambao wanaweza kuwa wanauliza, nambari ya simu ni 0720041484. Ningependa kabisa nikaweza kuonyesha emitter ni nini na kazi yake na umuhimu wake pia ni nini. Unapoitazama hapa kuna drip line, na utaona ukiangalia kwenye sehemu ya juu kuna sehemu moja iko na hizo shimo ambayo inatoa maji, hiyo tunaita emitters. So maji, wakati wote maji inatokea kwenye hizo emitters, na hiyo emitter ikiweza kuwa uchafu ikiweza kuingia humo ndani haiwezi kutoa hiyo maji. So emitters ni kitu muhimu sana kwa drip line, maana hiyo ndio ina release maji iweza kuenda kwa mmea. So ningependa kueleza tu kwamba mtaweza kujua wakati unafanya installation ya drip, kama wameinstall shamba yako, make sure unaangalia kila wakati hizo emitters kama zimeangalia juu ama zimeangalia chini. Zikiangalia chini, hapo in the bottom yake kuna na chances ya uchafu. Wakati uko na uchafu kwa tank, ipite kwa filter, ikifika pale itaweza kublock hizo shimo na zitaweza kutoa maji. Number 2, wakati tunafanya installation hapa kuna aina moja ya starter connectors, na ambayo sio starter connectors, hii tunaita min valve, ambayo ina uwezo unaweza ukaifunga mwenyewe ama ukaweza kuifungua. Kama unavyoona kuna maji yanatoka, na kuna ambayo ni direct starter connectors. So hii ni mojawapo ya mkulima mwenye anaweza akatumia kitu kama hii, maana anaweza control, ama ako na maji kidogo, unaweza ukacontrol wakati umefanya installation yako, unaweza ukacontrol hii maji, maana itakuwa na kazi kubwa.
It's exactly around 11 minutes past 4 p.m. right here on A Farmers Media, where we are always about one thing only, telling the story of an African farmer. And and definitely this is the drive show with me, Conrad Kibe. I'll be taking you through to around 4:30. And remember, our timings are have a bit changed because of the COVID regulations that were put there by the president on Friday. So remember, the curfew is at 8 p.m. around the red zones that we are talking about: Nakuru, Nairobi, Kajiado, Machakos, and Kiambu. So if you are in these red zones, remember the curfew is at 8 p.m. For the rest of the country, it's at 10 p.m. And definitely the rush hour will a bit change. So everyone will be rushing home to go to be home by 8 p.m. So remember, if you're out there, you coming out of your place of work, let us be safe on the roads. I know everyone is rushing to beat curfew, but let's be careful. Let's also be careful. Let's follow the guidelines that have been put in place. We're talking about wearing the mask and wearing a mask in the right way. Talking about sanitizing, talking about social distancing, and that's that's also a requirement when using your public service means, and also your personal vehicle. Remember, the passengers that you're carrying should be around 60% of the total capacity of the vehicle that you're using. So all these requirements should adhere to them. And so that, let's put this containment percentage less than 5% as required by WHO, and we shall be back to normal business. So let's hang on there. Yeah, hang in there, and everything itakuwa sawa. Let's adjust as accordingly, and everything will be okay. And all those who've been affected when by the new guidelines, tunasema pole, and we asking you to adjust accordingly. I know it's hard, but it's challenging, but it's doable. How's you? So talking about the discussion that you're having today, it's all about agribusiness and just poultry farming. And poultry farming, as I said when we started the show, it's a very, very lucrative, good business to venture in. But two things you need to consider: patience and intentionality. Those two things cut across all agribusinesses that you want to venture into. And so before we went on a break, we are talking about the requirements, the requirements that you need to put in place, some of the factors you need to put in place also before you start the poultry farm, this kind of agribusiness. We talked about market research, picking a niche, you know, getting to identify the suppliers, acquiring the land, now bringing in the chicks, and definitely getting to the market of poultry farming. All these are factors that you need to put in place, right? And also now, before we go to care and management, it's good also to get to know, now you've factored in all these factors. So what are some of the things that you need to follow when it comes to housing, feeding, and all that? So the first one, let's start with the breeds. Remember, we said we have two kind of breeds. We have the broilers and the layers. And for commercial production, it's good to note that for commercial production, layer breeds are the best when you want to do commercial production. But for meat production, we have the broilers. So that is very key to note. And I know you'll also get to understand more when you do your market research when it comes to breeding, and also what you need to consider in detail when it comes to breeding. So the second thing, talking about housing. Good designed houses is a must for commercial poultry. It's very, very necessary if you want to venture into commercial poultry. So make sure your houses are very, very good and well designed. So it's not the same. That doesn't mean that if you're into meat production, your houses are not supposed to be very well designed. So make sure, if you are in either or, make sure your houses are well designed. And good housing depends on the farming system and the choice of breed that you've actually chosen. So the farming system that you're using, you've put in place, and also have you chosen the broilers or the layers. So those two things will actually factor in when you're designing your housing. And when you put in up your houses or your chicken cages, make sure they have proper ventilation. Proper ventilation is necessary, because you've said we don't want, you've put probably 150 chicks in one place. Now in a ventilation, they will suffocate, and you're going to have losses even before your capital has paid off, even before you have your first production. So that is very necessary for people or for farmers who want to venture into large scale farming. This is for you. Listen up. Numerous houses will be effective for you if you want to venture into large scale farming. Large scale poultry farming, to be very precise. Numerous houses will be effective for you, and you have to actually keep about 40 feet distance from one house to the other. Talking about, maybe you put in around 500 chicks, that's large scale. Usiziweke mahali pamoja. You've put in place the ventilation, air is circulating very well, but really kutakuwa na joto jingi, and so the birds will start having stress and all that. So it's good, it's very effective when you want to do large scale, kuwa na several houses or several chicken cages. It's effective for you. Watakuwa na space ya kumove around, you know, and all that. So it's very effective when you start in large scale farming or large scale poultry farming. The other thing that you need to put in place cuts across everywhere, not just in poultry farming, even in your own house. Clean the house well. Clear the litter or on a regular basis. You must clean your house mahali ambako unaishi, to avoid so many things. Dust ikikuja, homa ndio imekupata. Dust ikikuja affects so many things. So the same case applies to these poultry birds. Their houses, make sure they are always clean. The litter, kama nini unataka kuokota huko ndani, make sure the chicken cages are very clean. So that cuts across. Even when we did about pig farming last week, cleaning was there. So anywhere you're dealing with an animal, you must ensure the cages are very clean. The same case applies to this type of farming, that is poultry farming. The other one goes to feeding. Feeding is very important. Just like you as a human being, you need to feed to actually move around, to do everything. You need to actually feed. And the doctors say it's good or it's healthy to have 3 meals a day. That is the required one. So hizo meals zingine unapata kidogo kidogo ni sawa, ni supplement, but very very necessary to have 3 meals a day as a person. So the same case applies to feeding these chickens or poultry birds. And for them, they need to feed on good quality nutritious food. Must be of high quality and have all types of nutrients. And you're talking about keeping poultry birds healthier and productive. So when you have good quality food, your poultry birds will be very healthy and productive. Will not be going on losses when you're feeding these poultry birds with good and quality food. The other one is availability of all types of nutrients is key to successful commercial poultry farming. So these foods that you're giving to these animals must be of high quality and very good quality. At the same time, they must be full of all types of nutrients, very nutritious. And two reasons for having a good quality and nutritious food. Your chicken or your poultry birds will be very healthy, one, and two, they'll be very productive. And when it comes to feeding also, it's good to add that not just food. Feeding includes clean water. Always hata we mwenyewe, when you've taken 3 meals a day, you need water. They say you need close to 8 glasses a day. Same is applied to poultry birds. Make sure you give them enough and clean water. Hata wewe mwenyewe unataka kunywa maji ambayo ni safi. So make sure when you're feeding these poultry birds, you have good quality food, and at the same time you're giving them enough clean water, and fresh, not just clean, just fresh, good clean fresh water. All right. So those are some of the things that are required. It's good to note because you're talking about the housing. Now you've gone detailed. When this is was in between the acquiring of land and the buying the chicks, and also the market. Now it was in between the buying of the chicks and the market. So when you factored in the housing ambavyo umejenga the chicken cages, and what is required in these chicken cages apart from the chicks, what necessary measures that you're supposed to put in place in these chicken cages, that was in between the requirement of buying the chicks and also market. So we have factored in that. So also what we need to factor in between buying the chicks and market, this is the most important point before you go to market, because you want to have a very very quality productive products. Mayai zako ziko of high quality, kuku ambayo unapeana, the broilers of high quality. So that one will actually be the factors that lead to this kind of high quality products are in between what we are about to talk about, that is buying the chicks and also the market. So whatever is in between here is very important, and we have talked about the housing and also the feeding. Now we go to the care and the management. We're talking about vaccine and all. So vaccine or vaccinating these poultry birds is very 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 important, and you need to be timely, you know because if you're not a very good timekeeper, or you're not factoring time when it comes to vaccinating, then your poultry birds will get all kind of poultry diseases. So it's very important to actually vaccinate the poultry bird. We shall be giving you the timings of the vaccines and when you need to vaccinate your poultry birds, and the measures that you need to put in place is, as always, this is very key: regular cleaning and disinfection of the chicken coops, the places the chickens are living. Disinfect as regular as possible, mara mingi. Just factor in that it's very important to clean, disinfect these places, or the chicken coops or the chicken cages. Feeding fresh food that is free from mold. So the fresh food, remember, we are going back to feeding fresh food, fresh water. Make sure it's free from molds or this kind of diseases. Isolating new flock members for at least 30 days. For example, you've brought in your first flock of probably 150 chicks. Zimekaa zimekupatia produce ya kwanza, you're very happy with the first products, or the first produce that you've had. Now you've decided, hii pesa kidogo nimepata, wacha niongeze. Remember now uko na cage zingine ushajenga, umesema uongeze. So again, when you're going for the second round, you need to factor in all these things again. Make sure now umeongeza from 150, you want to add another 150. Now you having 300 of them. Lazima uziweke mahala pengine. So factor in another chicken cage. So make sure you have not put the new flock with the older flock. We talked about pigs and bulling. The same will happen. Zile ambazo ziko pale hazijui njia. We've seen, for example, even in high school, we saw this thing happening. The form ones being secluded from the form 2s, 3 and 4. At least you learn the ropes. You learn a few things here and there. So for the poultry birds, still the same. Isolate them for at least 30 days. Kama ujenge place ingine, you can, even as you isolate na unaziachilia move freely, make sure they are moving freely by themselves. the first 30 days. From there sasa unaweza wacha zimingle pamoja, zinamenyana huko ndani. Hii imeshatambua huko kuna kuanga hivi, mambo inakuanga namna hii, so they understand everything. So the first 30 days isolate them from the first flock if it's a new flock. And that is very important to note that. And limit exposure to wild birds. Kama ni, they are very very small, they may be 1 day old, 1 week old. Hizo birds zile ziko huko juu zishaona ile ile ni nyama bana, ile nishapata sapa. So make sure you limit them from, keep them safe. But the first few days or the first 2 weeks ziweke in house, but the space is very very big. Factor in the space so that they can move freely. Zisitoke nje sana. Zikitoka nje sana, mwewe wako pale, wanataka wanaona hiyo ni chakula, and mwewe wakiamua kukuvamia watakumaliza. So to avoid that, just limit the exposure, limit them from getting outside and all that. This is also a measure or a common disease that can is picked from or by these animals or the poultry birds. That is the fowlpox, and it's transmitted through 3 ways: the skin, inhaling, and also ingestion of the virus. So fowlpox can be transmitted by 3 ways: through the skin or the wings, inhaling, inaweza inhale your virus, or you can ingest the virus through food. So those are some of the ways this fowlpox. Remember, it's very, very common to the poultry birds. So that is very key to understand that. So chicks can be vaccinated as early as day 1. So uh, for those who are asking about vaccine, karibieni kidogo, have your notebook and pen. Talking about chicks can be vaccinated as early as day 1. Understand? And but however, we're talking about chicks being vaccinated as early as day 1. That's not the only vaccine or the only time to vaccine these poultry birds. It's not enough. Just the same way we are having the COVID-19 vaccine or the jab. It's probably, who is talking about, probably 3 times. And the time is ukishaendea leo unapatiwa the second date appointment ya kukuja. So 1 is never enough. Same applies to the poultry birds. 1 is not enough. Ile umedunga siku ya kwanza is not enough. Even for us as human beings. BCG, when a child is very young, kuna kwa na BCG and all those. 1 is never enough. Kuna kwa na polio. Hizo zote. When you just give your child 1, then you leave out the rest, umemzuia ama umemkinga from 1 disease. So you must regularly go for all these vaccines. So the second one, after you've done during the first day, or you've given these poultry birds the first vaccine during their first day, the second one, you can vaccinate them during the 8th to the 10th week. So you must have your dates right. You must have your maths right when it comes to dates. So when you vaccinated these poultry birds on the first day, the second one, vaccinate them on the 8th to the 10th week. So have your maths right, have your dates right. So ukifika week 8 to 10, it's time now to vaccinate your birds again. And for the long term, you should vaccinate with what we call the CEO, the chick embryo origin, after 6 weeks. So if you want them, we are talking about this one being short term for the first day, the 8th to the 10th week. Now there's another one for the 6th week. We are talking about having to vaccinate the what we call the chicken embryo origin. That's CEO, after the 6th week. So that is very, very important to note. And so when we come back after the break, we shall be talking about the environmental factors that you need to understand, or actually the environmental factors that lead to diseases of these poultry farms, for these poultry birds. So remember, we talked about the vaccines. Giving these poultry birds vaccines on the first day, it's always advisable. And also, after you've given them on the first, actually the first day, it's advisable to give them another vaccine on the 8th to the 10th week. So when we come back, we shall be talking about the environmental factors that bring in diseases to these poultry birds that we have, or what you've ventured in known as poultry farming. So all that after this short break.
Celery is a marshland plant that comes from the same family as carrots and parsley. It has long, firm and pale green fibrous stalks and grows in bunches of approximately 8 to 10 centimeters. The stalks taper into leaves at the top. When planting celery, it's best to ensure that the soil is enriched with compost and with a soil pH of between 5.8 to 6.8. It is also important for celery to grow in moisture-retentive soil. Lastly but not the least, select a site that receives full and direct sunlight. Celery needs about 130 to 140 days to mature between seedling and harvest. Growing celery is generally considered to be an ultimate vegetable gardening challenge. It's easy to grow, but has very specific needs.
One of the most important activities on our farms is scouting. Why is it important? Because you get to know what is affecting your crops on a daily basis. Join me, Noah Nasiali Kadima, every Tuesday, 7:30 p.m., where we guide you to attain knowledge and grow profits.
Are you a farmer facing challenges in your farm? Pests, diseases, or even unsatisfactory produce? Worry no more. The solution is here. Join us every Tuesday on Diagnostic Tuesday, where we talk about various issues affecting agriculture and interacting with experts with knowledge in different sectors of agriculture to provide you with appropriate solutions, giving hope to farmers to attain better yields, to achieve financial success and development. Our farmers attain knowledge and grow profits.
It is exactly some maybe probably some 20 minutes to 4 p.m. and the other time I gave some time updates. My director corrected me and told me it was not 4 p.m. It was actually 3:11. Being confused with these time adjustments, it's not easy. So I hope you at home remember, if you're in the 5 red zones, don't be confused. Curfew yenyu ni 8 p.m. So usikue confused kama mimi with times. So remember, the rest of the country is at 10 p.m. Nyinyi ambao tuko hizi imeitwa red zones, that is Nairobi, Nakuru, Kajiado, Kiambu and Machakos. Curfew is 8 p.m. So don't be like me, being confused with time and saying 3 p.m. Saying 4 p.m. instead of 3 p.m. And this right here is the drive show with me, Conrad Kibe. I shall be doing all this until around 4:30 because of the time adjustment, and so that we can tunaweza fika nyumbani mapema. Wengine ambao sisi tunatoka mbali kidogo, so those time adjustments are very key, but the morning show remains at 8 in the morning. So definitely this is ile kipindi mnapenda, kipindi cha lala salama, and of course our new baby, has new segment on this show ambayo ni pan of the day. And if my director can pull up that in the screen, and having the pan of the day today is the farm animal that is the best timekeeper is called a watchdog. That is the pan of the day today. So definitely this is a segment that we shall be having right here on the Drive Show every Monday to Friday, and the pans always include agriculture pans, fun pans, and farm animal pans. So always be ready and always be tuned in for this and more of these pans, animal pans, farm pans, agriculture pans, right here on the Drive Show. Going on with our discussion today, we are talking about poultry farming, the care management, the requirements needed when you start in this kind of poultry farming or this kind of agribusiness. And before we went on a break, we were talking about the care and management, the vaccines, the timing for vaccines, and why we actually need these vaccines. And so vaccines are actually preventing from diseases. And so some of these environmental factors, or some of these environmental factors that are brought in by that bring in diseases are: one, poison, when these poultry birds ingest poison; two, we have injury; we have physical stress, when your poultry birds are stressed physically; we have the temperatures are very extreme, it's either too cold or too hot. So those are some of the environmental factors. And lastly, we have poor air quality, when you've not ventilated these chicken cages. Definitely we shall be having poor air quality. So make sure you ventilate the chicken cages, make sure you regulate the temperatures, and the injuries and all this will be brought about when you have mixed in the new, you know, the new chicken, zile ambazo ulileta kitambo, as we're talking about the first flock that you brought and the new flock. So when you actually put them together, there'll be a lot of bullying, so there'll be a lot of injuries and all this. So and especially the movement, it's because of the movement. Pale hakuna movement kubwa, you've not created some a spacious chicken cage, so definitely the movement, they'll be congesting or put in the same place, suffocating. So everyone is fighting for air. So pale zinabuliana. So make sure you have sorted out some of these factors. The environmental factors, yes, but it's up to you as a farmer to make sure that all these environmental factors are well put in place. So talking about poor air quality, make sure the quality is good, ventilate, temperature tumesema uregulate, space wapatie, so that we don't have the injuries and all those things. And definitely when you're talking about poison, make sure the foods that the poultry birds are eating, they are of good quality and they are good. Azijaenda, they are not expired, they are very good, they are very of good quality, and they are okay. So you avoid the poison, and when you regulate temperature, there are no extremes. Ventilate the place, there is no poor air quality. And so how this disease is spread, they spread through people, sisi ambao tunaweza waletea hayo magonjwa. We have domestic and wild birds, contaminated equipments, the equipments that you're getting with into that place, the chicken cages, they might be contaminated, so make sure you avoid that. And also we have the air. Air also can be contaminated. Remember we said for fall pox can be three ways. You have three ways: either the skin, inhalation, or even ingestion. So make sure you adhere or you put all these things into consideration before you actually give them vaccine, or just understand these are some of the ways, or these are some of the factors that bring in these diseases. So we go straight to most asked questions by you as a poultry farmer out there. I know some of you can, they're actually very common. So probably you have this question, or maybe you've ever asked this question and it was not answered. I'm here to help you answer those questions. And so the first one is most people ask, can I rear kienyeji for commercial purposes? And the answer is a resounding yes. But guess what? These are but. But having considered the following, kienyeji feeds more than others. Kienyeji is best for scavenging, and layers have best laying rates and longest period. Broilers achieve market value faster than kienyeji. Market for eggs is bigger than meat, and market for kienyeji, um, meat is growing fast. Market for kienyeji is growing fast. That's what actually means. So if you're there and asking, can I rear kienyeji for commercial purposes? The answer is one, yes. But there are factors that you need to actually understand, that kienyeji feeds more than others. So if you know that kienyeji feeds more than others, so are you willing, to buy more feeds for kienyeji? And also, just to understand that layers have best laying rates and longest period. So factor in that. Broilers achieve market value faster than kienyeji. Factor in also. And market for eggs is bigger than the market for meat. So yes, definitely, you can rear kienyeji for commercial purposes, but factor in those factors that I've given you. So just get to understand these are the factors. And so it's a yes, I can have kienyeji for commercial purposes, but these are some of the advantages and disadvantages. But if you asked generally, it's a yes. Yes, you can have kienyeji for commercial purposes. So that's one of the most asked questions. And the second one, do I need cages in poultry rearing? Do I need cages in poultry rearing? The answer is that depends on the number of birds you have, or the number of chickens you have. And cages are best for layers, or if you're into layers farming, but also used in broilers production. So that is a maybe. You understand? So if you want to do poultry rearing, if you're doing layers farmers, or your niche, the niche that you've picked is layers, that is necessary, must. Hiyo ni lazima uweke cages. But if you're into broilers, sio lazima, but it's okay, it's effective, but it's not a must, it's not necessary. Okay? And so the third the third most asked question is, which venture is more profitable, eggs or meat? So most of you will ask, which venture is more profitable, eggs or meat? And so the answer is that depends with the resources available. Eggs production is profitable. Meat production is more profitable. So it's up to you. You understand? We talked about uh, meat production and layers. The market value for the layers is better than the meat production. But now, for when it comes to profit, egg production is profitable. Just for eggs, you'll get the profit. But meat production is more profitable. So I hope where you may be a farmer at home, you've not decided on what to venture into, and you there asking yourself which venture is more profitable, eggs or meat. Just note, for eggs is profitable. If you're into egg production, it's profitable. But if you're into meat production, it's more profitable. So it's up to you to pick the niche and just know, why is egg production profitable and meat production is more profitable? Why is that difference? So get to know the difference, and probably you'll be the first person, or maybe one of the few people, to turn the tables around and make meat production to be egg production to be more profitable, and meat production to be just profitable. So the fourth question is that, which venture is easier, either the egg or the meat? And this depends with the resources again available. Meat production is commercial, at commercial level, is easier to do, and duration to its maturity is shorter. Cage system simplifies layer production. So if you're there and you want to venture into poultry farming, and your question is which venture is easier, remember we talked about any agribusiness, two values: patience and intentionality. So probably you don't have that enough patience when it comes to poultry farming, and you're looking for an easy way out. And remember, it's not that easy, because you have to put in more effort, more work. So you're trying to measure between the two, which one is more easy. So I'm here to tell you that that depends with the resources available, the resources that you have. So meat production at commercial level is easier. So if you want to do a commercial production, and you're looking for the production that is easier, go for meat production at the commercial level. Simple. So when you are looking for the easier way out, which again I've said, it's not easy, because at the same time you need to put a lot of effort, a lot of work when it comes to poultry farming. So for commercial purposes, or for commercial levels, for commercial market, commercial production, go for meat production. Right? So I hope I've answered your question when it comes to picking which one is easier. And the fifth question that is most asked, talking about which venture involves less risk. Again, we talked about agribusiness, always taking risks in any business that you do, in anything that you do. We said be part of that team we call ask around, I have no shame. Be part of that team. And that team, they don't have shame at all, and they take a lot of risks. So for you, you're out there, you want to venture into poultry farming, but you're asking which venture involves less risk. And the answer is the kienyeji production has less risk compared to layers or broilers. So watu wa kienyeji, if you are looking for less risks, hautaki maneno mingi, unajua kienyeji zinakula kitu yote tu, ni kienyeji tu, ni kienyeji tu, so they'll take anything. And so if you're looking for less risks, go for kienyeji. As we wind up on these most asked questions, the sixth one, vaccination program for layers. So we're talking about the first day. So the first day, as we said, first day, 6th week, 8th to 10th week, period. So those are some of the vaccination programs you need to do. Talked about the first two, the first day, vaccinate your chickens, and also make sure the second one is around 8th to 10th week. And so as we wind up on these most asked questions, probably I'll just pick one as we go on a short break. What is cheaper, buying food or making your own food? And feed constitute of 80% of the total cost. So that's a factor that you need to get very, very well. And making your own feed will definitely lower this cost, especially when raw materials are available or purchased in bulk. So remember, if you're looking for the cheaper way, either to buy food or make your own food, the food consists of 80% of your budget. So it's up to you to make that wise decision, either to make the food. If you have the materials available, everything is available, why not? You're cutting the cost. But if you don't have all these materials available, please, just ilikuwa tu kwa budget, hakuna kitu umereduce. So if you want to reduce and you don't have the raw materials, then it will be expensive for you. But if you have no option, just go for buying the food. But if you have an option and you're able to make this food so well, cut that cost and it will be very good for you. So I hope I've answered some of the most asked questions. So when we come back, we shall be winding up on the topic and definitely give you some traffic updates. It's 1 minute to 4 p.m. right here on A Farmers Media, where we always about one thing only, telling the story of an African farmer. And this is the Drive Show with me, Conrad Kibe, na tuko katika hali ya kumalizia hapa. And just before we go on, I was being told that the pun of the week was not actually captured well on the screen. And if my director right now, you can do that and get the pun of the week on the screen. And the pun of the week today is the farm animal that is the best timekeeper. It's called a watchdog. So for you who had not gotten that on the screen, now you have it on the screen, projected on your screen. And the pun of the day is the farm animal that is the best timekeeper is called a watchdog. So definitely every time right here on the Drive Show with me, Conrad Kibe, we shall be having the puns of the week, and definitely our puns are within agriculture, farm, and farm animals. So always looking forward for this kind of humor right here on A Farmers Media and right here on the Drive Show. And definitely we are winding up just before we go to some traffic updates for the capital. We're talking about if you want some 150 chicks as the case study we had given on the show, that probably you're talking about 100,000 in total. Talking about feeds and food for 10,000 shillings, and the cage is not more than 30,000. And for the chicks, 15,000 if probably you just want a few. So if you want 150, just know you'll part away with 100,000 Kenyan shillings. And for the food and everything is probably at 10,000 if it's large scale. And for the cages, we are not talking anything less than 30,000. It's where about that's just an average cost. So for the cost of uh, capital, that is what we have. But you can do your research. Probably depends with where you come from and what you have in the moment and what is available for you. But that is just the general overview of the cost of production and also for the capital. Now straight to the traffic updates that we have on the roads. Definitely right now it's time for rush hour because it's actually around 4 hours to curfew time right here on the red zones. And I can see on hapa hivi watu wa Mombasa Road, just after the Nairobi SGR terminus, hapo ndio maneno inaanza towards Imara Daima. Mambo ni moto, mambo sio not looking so well. So along Imara Daima traffic updates hapo, hapo pameshikana vibaya sana. And definitely watu ambao wanaenda Jomo Kenyatta International Airport towards the eastern bypass kidogo, it's the traffic is starting to build up. And watu wa wapi, watu wa Lang'ata Road, hey, hapo karibu na wapi, this is Mbagathi Way. Watu wa Mbagathi Way kama kawaida, unajua pale inakuanga ni parking lot. So if you are on your way to Lang'ata Road na unatoka Mombasa Road, make sure ukishamalizana na Imara Daima, chukua Southern Bypass, utakuwa uko sawa. Tembea hadi Southern Bypass, hiyo iko free kama baiskeli ya kuibiwa, kukimbia ukiwa umefika kwako Lang'ata. Definitely kama kawaida watu wangu wa Westlands, Parklands, mambo ni ile ile. There's nothing new, there's nothing that has changed. So make sure this traffic updates, remember, zinaenda tu zikibuild up. Watu wanaenda wakitoka job, watu wanaenda wakitokelezea, and everyone is on a rush because it's rush hour now. Times have changed. Rush hour right now it's from 4 p.m. So remember, be safe on the road. Make sure you wear your mask, maintain social distancing, 60% of the total capacity of the vehicle that you are traveling in, and definitely sanitize every time you get to that PSV. Sanitize that public building, sanitize ukiingia kwako, ukitoka sanitize, and wear your mask properly. Si kuvaa tu mask, just wear your mask. That's all we had for you today on Poultry Farming. Remember, if you have any question, just talk to us on our DMs. Just slide kidogo, tuulize maswali ambayo unataka, anything. Maybe you want to start from scratch, you want us to help you. Kama watu wasubuke huko nje, unataka tukuje kwa shamba yako, tutembee, tukuambie what is good to farm here, what you need, this is what you need, everything. Just talk to us, we shall be able to communicate and definitely help you because we give quality and affordable services. Thank you so much for tuning in right here on A Farmers Media. This has been the Drive Show with me, Conrad Kibe. Tukutane kesho, Mungu akipenda. I'll see you.